This is the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast, hosted by David Charlton, and you're listening to this podcast to help you build your own mental toughness, so that you can support other people or your clients better. Either way, you will learn more about developing this plastic personality trait that all but guarantees that you will perform better and lead a more prosperous life. This week's podcast episode is a fun one, with a very enthusiastic and knowledgeable guest. We dig into the controversial title of his book, Man Up. We discuss Billy Schwer, the world champion boxer, and the costs of being fully focused on glory. We also chat about Billy Schwer, the performance coach now, and how his personality has changed. Mental health and showing vulnerability, which many men aren't comfortable with, are also part of the conversation. It's a great listen, where his passion and purpose come out in abundance. So Billy, your book's called Man Up. Can you tell the listeners all about the name there and what you mean by those words?
Absolutely. So I need to get that straight because it's a little bit controversial, the name Man Up. Some people get offended. It's intended to be a little bit controversial. And my apologies to all the ladies listening. All the ladies that have read it, they love it. They get it because it ain't what you think it is. So man up. What is man up? So my experience of being a man as a fighter, a former world champion, you would automatically think it was about being aggressive, domineering, fighting, rah, rah, all of that stuff. But it's not. It's completely the opposite. So to be a true man, I believe, is having the ability to be able to adapt from being the man who has the ability to defend, resist, confront if needed be. But the real man, I believe, has the ability to be vulnerable, to share themselves, to be open, to listen, to be able to just give up being right and dominating and just being present for people and others and listening. So that's what I view as being a true man is. But I had to experience of being a man down. So upon my retirement from being a boxer, I found the transition to be very difficult. I went from being a world-class athlete to just being Billy. And I really didn't know who Billy was because I've been Billy the boxer from a kid of 8 years of age. So my training and my conditioning was all about fighting, defending, resisting, confronting, and attacking. So that's who Billy the boxer was. So upon my retirement, I found myself asking the question, so who is Billy? I mean, do you ever ask yourself that? Who am I? What am I all about? What am I doing? Why am I doing it? What's the point? What's the meaning of life? All of those questions were just coming through me, and just like a stream of consciousness, I started to look at myself, and I started to kind of emerge out of being Billy the boxer. But that took some time, and I found that transition to be very difficult. I went through, now your thing is about being mentally tough, and I experienced being mentally tough beyond as a professional boxer. But then the transition, I went through depression. I had a mental breakdown. I wrecked my marriage, which ended up in divorce. I went bankrupt. I lost everything. I kind of crashed and burned. So life being Billy it was very difficult, and I kind of really struggled with it. And I got to a point of now the first 2 years of my retirement from being a boxer were the worst 2 years of my life. I suffered, I was in pain, and I hit rock bottom. And it is while I was at the bottom, I kind of realized that, I need to make some changes because my life is not working. All the areas of my life that wasn't working, there was a common theme running through the lot of them. And the common thing was me. I was there. All the things that weren't working in my life, I happened to be there. So I kind of realized, well, maybe I've got something to do with it then. So then that's when I started to dismantle myself to get free from Billy the boxer, because what had Billy the boxer become a champion was now having Billy fail in life. What has us win in life sometimes may have us fail. Those winning attributes that I had, I was persistent, I was courageous, I was tough, I was determined. those things that you'd be proud to talk about. But what came with them? Now I call them the good, the bad, the ugly traits. Now they were the good ones, the ones you'd like to talk about. But what came with them were the bad and the ugly ones. I was aggressive. I was domineering. I was selfish. I was inconsiderate. I was always right. I was rah, rah, rah. I was a fighter. So those traits, they worked perfectly well in the boxing arena as a fighter, but they didn't work in life. Just ask my ex-wife. She'll tell you. I didn't know how to be anything other than Billy the boxer. So that was the point that I realized I need to look at this and I need to discover something for myself and discover who Billy truly is. And that's how the book title come around, because I was a man down. I had to get up, and I knew how to get up in the boxing arena, in the boxing ring, but I didn't know how to get up in life. And that was my journey. And that's how I come up with the title of the book. I was a man down. I had to man up, and I had to dismantle Billy the boxer to get free from it, to be who I am today.
So when you talk there about dismantling Billy the boxer there, and the fact that, you realized you needed to do that, did you do that by yourself, or did you seek support in order to do it?
I needed help, but because I tried to figure it out, and I made a bit of a mess of it. As an athlete, I had coaches, I had support in all areas of my life, from physical fitness, nutrition, physios, chiropractors, boxing trainers. It's like I had everything there. So I was totally believed in coaching, but I didn't really get it in my life. I needed a coach for my life. And it wasn't until a point. So those 2 years, the first 2 years, the worst 2 years of my life, that was when I realized I need some help. So a friend of mine recommended that I go and do this training. And it was a program called the Landmark Forum, which is what I did in August of 2003. And I went to the Landmark Forum open to the conversation. And what I loved about it was ontology, which is this study of the art and science of being. You sit in a room, 150, 200 people. You don't read or write anything. You sit there and have a conversation about what it is to be a human being. And honestly, it rocked my world. I walked out of that building never to be the same again. And that was my first taste of transformation, because that was when I started to become, I woke up in that room. I woke up to some other possibility. I woke up to what Billy could be. Who is Billy? And that was my first initiation into the world that I've been inhabiting for the last 18 or so years it is now. And I kind of love the subject. I love the topic. And I want everyone to have what I've experienced, because here I am today. I'm happier, more fulfilled and satisfied than I've ever been ever. And that's what I wish for everyone to have. And it's available if you do it, willing to do the work. You have to go inside. It's not external. You have to go and do the inner work to get whatever it is out of the way, so you can experience a 10 out of 10 life. I'm living a 10 out of 10. I'm 10 out of 10. And even in the face of my life not being perfect, I'm not perfect. My life ain't perfect, but I feel great. And that was something that I wanted when I was going through my tough time upon my retirement. I wanted to feel good because I felt terrible. And I knew what feeling good felt like, and it was missing for me. So I was trying to regain it. I'm trying to figure it out. How do I get it again? And that's what I've done. That's the work I've been doing for the last 18, 19, 20, coming up for 20 years.
It's fantastic to hear that you're happy, and I think things are going well for you. I can imagine addressing those vulnerabilities, it would be quite frightening at times, would it be?
Oh, it's tough. It was brutal. Stripping yourself down, dismantling your identity, your ego. Now, I had a huge ego as a fighter. It's like I had to have this huge ego to get into the ring and survive. I was surviving day by day as a professional boxer. And so much of it was ego. So dismantling the ego, stripping it back, and And it resisted, it kicked off a lot. Trust me, it didn't go without a fight. And it's still there. I'm still dealing with it today. But it's like managing myself and being the observer of myself. I didn't know how to do that. So I was my ego. I was my identity. And that was the challenge. And that's for us all to consider and look at. Who are you really? Because who you think you are is not who you are. It's just it might be ego. It's your identity. But once you start to dismantle that and strip it back, you get to see yourself for who you truly are. And that's being free. I want people to be free from who they can, because we're constrained. We constrain ourselves all from our past. And that's the bit that I had to unravel, the past. I was no longer my past, which was a struggle for me as a professional athlete to let go of that past, because I was so identified with it. And that's who I was. I was so attached to being Billy the boxer, and letting go of that was a challenge, a real challenge.
At that time in your life, then, when you talk about your identity there and being Billy the boxer, did you have like many other things in your life that you could identify with, or was your self-esteem sort of attached to solely the boxing part?
Yeah, my whole life, my whole way of being, everything in my life was attached to Billy the boxer, because that was who I was from a kid of 8. So for 23 years, that was who I was, and it was so ingrained in me. I gave my life to that identity, to that purpose, to being a winner, to being a fighter. And then when it was gone, that was to really confront that and let that go was a real challenge. And a lot of us face that challenge, whether it be maybe not as athletes, but we lose people, we lose lives, we lose loved ones, we lose jobs, we lose careers, we lose our identities. A lot of us are experiencing it. Some people they come out of the services. They change their career. It's a challenge to recreate, and I had to reinvent and recreate myself. That was the work, and it wasn't an overnight phenomenon. It took time.
And now, obviously, you've gone into the performance coaching space. How do you go about helping people, in these sort of scenarios where they're going through transitions?
I share myself, so I speak into their hearts and their minds. So obviously, having experienced what I've experienced in my past, not only in the boxing ring, but in the boxing ring of life, having experienced the hardship, the suffering, the pain of depression, divorce, bankruptcy, kind of a lot of people that I work with are experiencing some element of that. And we all do. Each and every one of us, all of us, we've all suffered financial problems, relationship challenges. They're just present in life. So I've kind of, what I was very, very good at, whatever I would do, I would be very good at it. And I kind of found I was good at being depressed, and I was very good at going bankrupt. I was very good at all the negative stuff as well as the positive stuff. So I've kind of experienced all of it to an extreme level. So then, so I'm sharing that plus that stuff. And so the things that I figured out for myself, that's what I share. I just guide people to have a look at different areas of their lives. I look at us as a whole, physical, mental, nutritional, fitness, looking at everything from hormones to nutrition, to hydration, to meditation, to fasting, to all sorts of stuff. So working with people, and if you work through that kind of stuff and look at them as a whole, and having the transformational conversations that gives them an access to a whole new future. So that's I'm a guide, just shining a light on the things that need to be looked at. Because a lot of us, we go unconscious, and I was unconscious. And it wasn't until I woke up and got conscious of myself and my behaviors and what was working, what wasn't working. Then that was the process I went through. And that's just what I'm good at, is listening. I'm listening for that in another. So as they're sharing their life and their experiences, I'm listening for what's missing, what's in the way, what's stopping us really achieving what they want, and getting them to get the life that they want. And most people that you speak to, they want to feel good. we all want to base it as a basic fundamental. You can elevate people's emotions. And I kind of get, where are you on a scale of 0 to 10? Where would you rate yourself today? And I spoke to a guy the weekend and he was a 3 out of 10. So he's only operating like 30%. So it's elevating him. And you can do that just in a conversation, but then it's maintaining it. It's getting the momentum and keeping it up there. So then the meditation, the vibration, the energy that we are is elevating all of that, having good feeling thoughts, direction. Where do we focus our energy and maintaining that? And if people are operating at 4 or 5 out of 10, get them to an 8, 9 out of 10. That makes a huge difference just on a daily basis. So they're going to operate in all areas of their life at a different level if they're 30, 40% uplifted.
So in a way, a lot of what you do, I suppose there's similarities to what I do in some respects. You're trying to develop people's self-awareness, aren't you? So that they can go on and make better decisions in their lives and their work and things like that. This is a short advertisement introducing the sponsor for the show, Chimera Sport, who produce a range of sportswear and equipment to help enhance performance and recovery, reducing injury occurrences. And as someone who has had long-standing back issues, I've personally tested some of the garments and I've been more than happy with them. You'll also find that the infrared sportswear has been clinically tested too, so it's great for fitness enthusiasts who want to push harder, go further, and recover quicker. More details can be found on the product section of our website and in the show notes. So how self-aware was Billy the boxer?
Completely unconscious. I had no self-awareness at all. I was completely unconscious. I was just trained to fight. So that was it. So that was my conditioning, to fight, defend, resist, confront, attack. That was it. That was my makeup. So I was unconscious to anything else. I had no feelings. I didn't know how to feel. And being vulnerable was like a weakness. That would be a weakness as a fighter. So my training was not to show any emotions because it was weakness. So I became like a shell with no feeling, tough, just resilient, just keep going in the face of anything. I'm a fighter. And that worked, that served for the time that I was an athlete, a boxer, professional boxer, but then it just didn't work in life.
And imagine as well, part of being a boxer, especially the level you are at, is it's about trying to intimidate your opponent as well.
That's all part of it. Yeah, you show no weakness and you're trying to break your opponent's will. So you're trying to, so that you try to penetrate through because we're the same. We're fighters and we're meeting each other in the ring with the same kind of makeups. So who's going to break first? That's the will side of that. I've got a very, very strong will. That's what had me succeed. And it's trying to break people's will in the boxing ring. And that was a trait. Yeah, that worked in the boxing arena, but yeah, it's a difficult one to experience in life.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, you're trying to gain any little edge possible, I suppose, on your opponent. And in that way, I mean, if we're talking now about sharing vulnerabilities and things like that, yeah, there must be a temptation, I suppose, for boxers just to keep their mouth shut and not talk about their feelings. Having said that, Tyson Fury's been and done that though, hasn't he?
Yeah, and yeah, it's more open these days. So I'm talking about 20 years ago. I retired from boxing 20 years ago. So mental health wasn't really discussed. It wasn't really talked about as openly as it is now. I mean, there's all athletes are lots of top athletes are talking about it. So that makes it makes it more acceptable, a lot easier to talk about and to deal with if you're dealing with it. And it's something that all athletes have to deal with. It's always been there for us, but it wasn't talked about. We just got on with it. We just got our heads down and just get on with it. That's what comes with the territory. Just get on with it, get to work and do it.
I suppose, what are your thoughts on that now in terms of, do you think it's a good thing that athletes are going out and talking about it and sharing these things? Or can it cause some issues in their sport?
Yeah, it's a really interesting debate. So I'm a bit old school, right? So I'm coming from that way of thinking, possibly, but I'm also awake enough to realize if it's needed and somebody feels they need to share something, then they should share that. And then that, provided it adds value to them, and it may adds value to others, but ultimately, as a top class athlete, you've got to go and perform. That's just part of it. You got to take and it's extreme pressure. As a boxer, you're going into the ring as a professional boxer. I would step up into the ring prepared to die. It was like kill or be killed. That was my experience of life. Kill or be killed. So living like that was very, very intense. So to survive that life, you got to put a shell on. I call it like you put a survival suit on. And just to survive that on a daily basis, that's really intense.
How did you switch off and get away from that, or did you not?
Very rarely. I would read, I would watch films. I got into meditation when I was boxing, but I drifted off it. I'm back into it now. And it's impossible to if you're training for a championship fight, it's very difficult to, you might watch a film and your mind might separate for a little while, but you're on it. It's like it's 24/7 because you're eating, living, breathing 3 months down the road. So you're living into that future. So you have to be, so I would step up. I was committed. That's how committed I was. I was willing to go into the ring, prepare, and I was like willing to die. That's how committed I was. That sounds a bit crazy, but that was my commitment. So everything had to be aligned, and I gave it everything because I didn't want to go in the ring and get hurt. And so I prepared. I lived to the best of my ability so I could arrive on fight night in the best shape I could possibly be in. So hopefully that would prevent any damage or death, because that professional boxing is a brutal business.
And do you want to share with the listeners then that you talk about that 3-month process there of training for a world championship fight, what that actually looks like and entails?
So you'd have a base level of fitness. So you'd be physically in great shape most of the year round, but you would up that maybe. So you'd be like doing circuit training, getting physically fit, hill runs. Then you'd get into the gym and you'd be doing pad work, that kind of in that environment. And then you'd start sparring. But the life that went with it, the lifestyle, it was just 24/7. It was all encompassing. Every moment was geared up to that date, maybe 3 months in advance. So your whole life is geared up around that. And you had to be a bit flexible because you might pick up injuries. You're going to overtrain. You're going to be tired. You got to have days off. You got to be willing to adapt and shift and change and work with your coach so you can arrive 3 months down the road ready for fight night, that's an art as well to get that right. That's a bit of an art because you're as an athlete, as a boxer, we're trying to make weight as well. So we've got to be a certain weight. When I was boxing, I was lightweight and then light welterweight. So light welterweight is 10 stone. So I would walk around at maybe 10 stone, just under 11 stone. So I would have to bring my weight down. So on fight day, I would weigh in at 10 stone. So that's an art as well. So to come in on fight night, fully nutritioned and fully rehydrated and ready to go, that's an art, as well as the physical training art side of it as well.
Imagine, I bet, did you get it wrong on occasions? I remember when I challenged for the world championship on my second attempt, I overtrained and I overdid it, and I just couldn't pull it back in time. So on fight night, I was overcooked. I was done, and I went and fought 12 rounds with the best lightweight in the world at the time, and it was a bloody nightmare. I got a big cut over the bridge of my nose, blood everywhere, and I lost on points. And it was
and I wasn't in the best shape that I could have been in. Looking back now, I should have pulled out of the fight, but you know what it's like as a fighter. We're our own worst enemies. You don't want to give up the opportunity, and it was for the biggest title, the WBC title. And what happened was I lost the title on points, and there's a lot of controversy because the guy failed the drug test. So no wonder I couldn't catch him. He was like 1,000,000 miles an hour. I couldn't catch him. But what happened was he got off on a technicality. So he failed the drug test, but he got away with it on a technicality. So I was so disappointed. I felt cheated, and I wasn't in the best shape that I could have been in. So that was a moment in time. Trust me.
Yeah, a bit of a wake up call.
Yeah.
In terms of like now, you're a performance coach. What sort of advice would you be giving Billy the boxer now?
I've got a success model. So if you imagine there's a positive and a negative cycle. So if you imagine a triangle, and the base of the triangle is discipline and dedication. And at the top of the point of the triangle is desire. That is what had me become a world champion. Discipline, daily. On a daily basis, you do whatever's required. And dedication. So then being dedicated to the outcome, being dedicated to your desire over time. So that dedication is going to be weeks, it's going to be months, it's going to be years. But ultimately, it's about fulfilling on that desire. So what is it that you do want? That's the point. What do you want? That's the first principle of success, knowing what you want. That's the positive cycle. So it's kind of staying in that positive cycle. But with everything, with a positive, there may be a negative, and with the positive cycle, there's a negative cycle. So if you imagine an inverted triangle, and on the base of that triangle is doubt, distraction, and at the bottom, the point of the negative cycle is disappointment. So the self-doubt, getting distracted, ultimately ending up in disappointment. This is the cycle that I got caught up in when I retired from being a professional boxer. Because I self-doubt, I doubted I'll be that good at anything ever again. I've been a world-class athlete. So now what? That self-doubt's there for a lot of us. The uncertainty. I mean, have you ever been uncertain of the future? That's there for a lot of us. And the distraction. Where do you choose your distraction? So if that's unconscious, it may not be serving you. So my distraction didn't serve me as a retired professional boxer. I suffered. I went through the pain, drug, sex, and rock and roll. I kind of did all of that stuff to distract myself from being Billy the boxer. I tried to figure out who Billy was, and I made a complete mess of it. Ultimately, being disappointed with life and my situation, I ended up being a victim because I was caught up in that negative cycle. So when I started to waken up, I realized that, and I thought, oh, okay, so my future's my responsibility. It ain't no one else's. So I need to do something about it, get responsible for it, and take ownership of it. And then I got my power back, because as a victim, you've got no power. I gave my power away. I was robbed of it. I gave it away. So I had to regain it. And the way to regain it is just like holding your hands up and going, yeah, being responsible, owning up to this is your life and you've caused it. And just confront yourself and go, right, okay, so I've done where I'm at is where I'm at. So now what? The past doesn't equal the future. Where you're at right now doesn't equal the future. Where your focus goes, your energy will flow. Put your focus into the future. What do you want for yourself and your life in the future? And that's the place that we want to start walking towards. Discipline, dedication towards that future. What is it that you do want? Because we all know what we don't want. We're all clear about that. But maybe we can't articulate what it is that we do want. Not everyone can.
Yeah, no, it is very, very easy, isn't it, to focus so much on the things that you don't want, as you say. So
and what happens is you get what you focus on. So you focus on what you don't want. What happens? You get more of it. So you've got to be so careful what you're focusing on, where you're placing your thoughts and your feelings, your energy, because you're going to get more of it.
Exactly. If you're driving a car, you're not going to be looking at the lampposts and the footpaths and stuff, are you? You're going to be looking where you want to go.
Especially you're not looking in the rear view mirror, are you, as you're driving?
Exactly.
You glance at it, but you don't look at it, stare at it. That's going to be a mess.
Damn right.
I've experienced the chaos, crash, the mess I've experienced that, yeah, because I was looking in the rearview mirror. I was stuck in the past. Wake up.
Yeah, and you see a lot of that in sport as well, don't you? When people make mistakes and errors and things like that, and they dwell on them and they can't move on.
Absolutely, especially your game for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And for us all, we could all dwell in the past. We could all get stuck in it. We've all done it. There's nothing wrong with that either. It's just acknowledging it, going, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, that's all right. And once you become aware, like you said earlier, having some mindful, just being more aware of yourself and observing yourself, then you go, yeah, well, I'm doing that again. Oh, that don't work, does it? Well, okay, then now what?
Exactly, because let's face it, not one of us is perfect. We've all got our upsides and then downsides from get caught in little traps. So yeah, it is all about awareness.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we could talk for hours quite easily. I'm a bit conscious of time here. So could you share with the listeners 3 key takeaways from our conversation?
3 takeaways would be, so I'm living my life now with passion, power, and purpose. So have a look at your life. Are you passionate about what you're doing? And you may not be passionate about what you need to do day to day. So for me, my example, my passion was to become a world champion. I wasn't really passionate about going running in the rain, the sleet, the snow at 5 o'clock in the morning. I wasn't really passionate about getting punched in the face every day. But I was passionate about getting the outcome. So that's one area to look at. Then power. So for us to succeed, we need some inner power. We need to have that inner power. So if you can tap into that and find it and work upon that to fulfill on a purpose, what is it that you do want? What's your purpose? Because once you can connect with a purpose, the passion and the power, the drive towards achieving it becomes easier. But it's finding it, connecting with it, and tapping into it and driving towards somewhere. Not go backwards.
No, most definitely. I love that. That's so
passion, power, purpose. Then we've got the 3 Ds of discipline, dedication, and desire. There you go. There's 6.
We'll take 6.
double bubble.
Yeah, brilliant. Whereabouts can the listeners find you then on social media?
I'm not really big into social media, but I'm on all the platforms, all the usual ones. Where I mainly hang out is on LinkedIn. A lot of the guys that I work with are on LinkedIn, so that's my main platform. But I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, the usual ones.
Yeah,
I'm not hard to find. Billy Schwer. If you want to come to billyschwer.com, you can get the first 2 chapters of my book for free if you're interested.
Excellent. Well, all of the details there that you've mentioned, I'll pop in the show notes. So if anybody does want to reach out to you, then they can get in touch with you that way. Much appreciated for your time, and I really enjoyed the conversation. You've shared some excellent top-notch insights there. Thank you.
We should have a rematch, because I can go through my 7-step winning formula, because that's another area that we can look on. So let's have a rematch at some point in the future.
Yeah, I like that. Sounds a good idea. Brilliant. Appreciate that, Billy. Thank you.
You're welcome. All the best. And listen, I wish everyone a great life. Go for it.
Wow. That was one enjoyable episode to record and share. Billy was such a really warm guy to meet, and he shares some fascinating stories and ideas there. It's so true that in showing great drive to achieve your goals and being fully focused, that other things can come at a cost. I can recall a similar conversation with rally car champion Penny Mallory in episode 37 of the podcast, who talked about several failed marriages because of the same reasons Billy mentioned. And what was abundantly clear is that Billy now is a lot more self-aware than he was in his boxing days. And as I do, he also recognises that self-awareness and looking deep into your mirror is the key to being mentally tough. So I encourage you to dig deep, to dig into that purpose. Why is it that you do what you do? Why do you think the way you do? And also consider your behaviours and what they mean. And if you'd like to spend an hour with me, we can actually measure your mental toughness. and then leave you with a positive session and some tips to improve upon it. Feel free to get in touch. If you enjoyed this episode of the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with David Charlton, do check out my website, sport-excellence.co.uk, and my online sport psychology resources. The Sport-Excellence website has essential resources for anyone looking to build their own mental toughness or the mental toughness of their athletes or teams, or if you want to achieve peak performance more often or optimal functioning. The Sport Excellence website has everything you need to keep moving forward and thrive. So go on, head over to sport-excellence.co.uk to find out more.